Yo, listen up, family, because what I just witnessed at this Ebony 100 red carpet has got the entire internet in a chokehold. And if you thought you had seen Claressa Shields humiliated before, you have not seen a single frame of what actually just went down between Claressa Shields and Papoose Turner in front of every camera in that building. I'm telling you right now, this is not a rumor. This is not a screenshot. This is not somebody's cousin's TikTok. This is high definition, 4-camera, publicly broadcast, cannot be denied footage of Papoose looking at Claressa Shields like she was a stranger who tried to slide him a business card on the subway. And the part that has got the boxing world losing its mind. The part that has got hip-hop Twitter refreshing every 11 seconds. The part that has got even the most loyal Claressa Shields defenders quietly closing their laptops and pretending they were never online in the first place, is the fact that Papoose did not just dodge one kiss. Papoose dodged a whole photo op. Papoose pulled Claressa Shields backstage. Papoose told the cameras to cut, and Papoose said something to the undisputed champion of the world that people who were in that room are still not comfortable repeating on tape. Real talk, though, this is the most explosive Claressa Shields story of the entire year. And by the time I finish walking you through every single second of this footage, you're going to understand exactly why the algorithm is refusing to let this clip die. Now let me set the table for you before we get into the meat of it, because context is everything, and Claressa Shields did not just walk into the Ebony 100 as a random +1. Claressa Shields walked into that building as the undisputed, 5-division, pound-for-pound #1 female boxer on the planet. Claressa Shields is a Hall of Famer. Claressa Shields is an Olympic gold medalist twice over. Claressa Shields is the GWOAT, and that is a title she gave herself. But honestly, at this point in her career, nobody with a functioning brain is arguing with her about it. So when Claressa Shields walks up on that red carpet with Papoose Turner on her arm, you would think that this was going to be a coronation. You would think this was going to be one of those glossy magazine spreads that ends up on the fridge of every little girl in Flint, Michigan, who dreams of throwing a jab. You would think that Papoose would have understood the assignment. But Papoose did not understand the assignment. Papoose showed up looking like a man who had lost a bet, and by the time the cameras stopped rolling, Claressa Shields was walking out of that venue with a look on her face that I have only ever seen on people who just realized their card got declined in front of a full restaurant. Cut through the noise for a second, because I know a lot of you are already typing in the comments trying to defend Papoose Turner, and I hear you. I see you. I understand the argument. Some of y'all are saying Papoose has been catching heat all year long. Papoose is going through a public divorce with Remy. Papoose is trying to keep a low profile. Papoose does not want to be photographed kissing his girlfriend in front of a room full of judgmental strangers. I get it, family, I really do. But peep this detail. Papoose Turner is the one who chose to show up to the Ebony 100 red carpet with Claressa Shields on his arm. Nobody kidnapped Papoose. Nobody dragged Papoose out of his apartment at gunpoint and forced him to walk down that carpet. Papoose chose to be there. Papoose chose to smile for the cameras. And the second the photographers asked for a couple pose, Papoose acted like Claressa Shields had walked out of an elevator carrying a raw fish. That is the part that people are stuck on. That is the part the internet cannot let go of. And that is the part 1am about to break down for you frame by frame. Here's where it gets loud. The first thing you notice when you watch this footage back is the body language. Because the body language is telling a story that no press release is ever going to correct. Claressa Shields leans in. Claressa Shields is smiling. Claressa Shields is doing the thing that every couple does on a red carpet, which is that little chin tilt eye close move that says I love this man and I want the world to know it. And Papoose Turner? Papoose Turner turns his head. Papoose Turner looks at the camera like the camera personally insulted his mother. Papoose Turner puts his arm around Claressa Shields' waist, but he does it with the enthusiasm of a mall Santa who is on his 5th shift of the day and has not had a bathroom break since noon. The photographers, God bless them, they are professionals. They try to redirect the moment. They ask for a kiss. They think they are going to salvage this. They think Papoose is just being shy. They are wrong. Papoose is not shy. Papoose is declined. And Claressa Shields, being the fighter that she is, being the woman who has faced Franklin Cruz-Dezern and Savannah Marshall and every other elite killer in her division, being the woman who has never once flinched at a stare down in her entire career, Claressa Shields flinched at that red carpet. You could see it in her eyes. You could see the exact microsecond that Claressa Shields realized this was about to become a meme. Now, real talk, though. If that had been the whole story, we would not be having this conversation. If Papoose had just dodged one kiss and moved on with his life, it would have been a bad viral moment, and it would have died down in about 72 hours the way most red carpet moments die down. But Papoose did not stop there. Papoose escalated the situation, and this is where the second act of this whole disaster begins. And this is the part that even I, a person who has been covering celebrity drama for years, had to sit down and process before I hit record. According to multiple sources who were in the venue that night, Papoose Turner pulled Claressa Shields backstage immediately after the red carpet. And Papoose was not pulling Claressa Shields backstage to have a nice, calm, adult conversation about their public image. Papoose was pulling Claressa Shields backstage because Papoose was heated. Papoose was cooking. Papoose was in a mental space that people in that hallway described as, and I quote, the exact energy of a man who just found out his rent went up $900. And what happened next, according to the eyewitnesses who were within earshot, is that Papoose looked at Claressa Shields and asked her a question that I am about to paraphrase for you. And I want you to pay attention because this is the question that has flipped the narrative on this entire relationship. Papoose looked at Claressa Shields and said, and again, this is paraphrased, but 3 separate people on 3 separate platforms have described the exchange in almost identical terms. Papoose said, in essence, why did you bring him up in here? And the him in that sentence was not a random person. The him was Andre, better known in Claressa Shields' inner circle as Dre, and Dre is Claressa Shields' longtime trainer. Now, if you have been following Claressa Shields for any length of time, you already know that Papoose has had a problem with Dre for a while. And this is not the first time this problem has surfaced in public. There have been gym videos where Papoose has visibly tensed up when Dre was in the frame. There have been Instagram lives where Claressa Shields has had to defend her professional relationship with Dre against comments from people in Papoose's own comment section. There has been an entire subplot in this relationship where Papoose has quietly, and sometimes not so quietly, made it clear that he does not care for the level of physical closeness that comes with elite-level boxing training. And on that Ebony 100 red carpet, all of that tension boiled over in the most public way possible. Here's where it flips. Because the trainer, Dre, was not just somewhere in the building. Dre was right there. Dre was in the same room. Dre was in the same conversation. And when a photographer or a bystander made a comment about Dre being present, Claressa Shields did what Claressa Shields always does, which is that she tried to defuse the situation with humor. Claressa Shields said, and this has been confirmed by video, that's my uncle. She said it with a smile. She said it the way you say something when you are trying to lower the temperature in a room. But Papoose did not laugh. Papoose did not smile. Papoose did not accept the uncle framing. Because Papoose remembers, and everyone who follows this saga remembers, that this is not the first time that uncle defense has been deployed. Real talk, though, family, the uncle defense in the Claressa Shields and Papoose Turner universe has a history, and that history is not the kind of history that ends with a hug. Drop your verdict in the comments right now, because I want to know where you stand before we go any deeper. Do you think Papoose Turner was justified in pulling Claressa Shields backstage? Do you think Claressa Shields was disrespectful for bringing her trainer to a public event where her boyfriend was going to be photographed? Or do you think this whole situation is just 2 grown adults who need to sit down with a therapist and figure out whether they even want to be in a relationship anymore? I want to hear from the boxing fans. I want to hear from the hip-hop fans. And I want to hear from the people who have been quietly rooting against this couple since day one. Because family, this couple has been the most divisive celebrity pairing in black entertainment since the day Papoose first walked into a Shakur Stevenson fight card and locked eyes with the GWOAT. Now let me rewind the clock for the people who are just tuning into this saga for the first time, because I know some of you are watching this video and you are asking the question, how did we even get here? So let me lay it out for you in the cleanest possible way. Papoose and Claressa Shields first crossed paths back in July of 2024 at a Shakur Stevenson boxing match in Newark. At the time, Papoose was still legally married to Remy Ma, and Claressa Shields was in the middle of one of the greatest championship runs in the history of women's boxing. Nobody in that arena that night could have predicted that these 2 people were going to become the internet's favorite train wreck. But here we are. Papoose eventually filed for divorce from Remy Ma, and according to the filings, Papoose alleged that Remy had been unfaithful multiple times over the course of their marriage. Remy Ma pushed back on the framing. The public picked sides. Some people said Papoose was finally telling the truth after years of being the loyal husband meme. Other people said Papoose was rewriting history to justify a relationship with a woman who was 15 years his junior and standing in the ring wearing a championship belt. The debate has never fully died down. And every time Papoose and Claressa Shields step out in public, that debate gets reignited from scratch. But peep this detail, because it matters. As of this year, Papoose and Remy Ma are still legally married. The final divorce decree has not been signed. And that means every red carpet that Claressa Shields walks with Papoose Turner on her arm is technically a red carpet where she is standing next to another woman's husband. That is not opinion. That is a legal fact. And it is a legal fact that a segment of the audience refuses to let go of. So when the Ebony 100 red carpet went down the way it did, and when Papoose pulled Claressa Shields backstage the way he did, a very loud portion of the internet responded not with sympathy for Claressa Shields, but with a chorus of, "I told you so." And that chorus is currently the loudest sound on Black Twitter. Real talk. Family, the schadenfreude is off the charts. Here's where it gets loud again. Because after the backstage confrontation, Claressa Shields did not slink away and hide. Claressa Shields did what Claressa Shields always does, which is that she went straight to her platform and she started talking. Within hours of the Ebony 100 incident, Claressa Shields hopped on Instagram Live, and Claressa Shields started addressing the trolls in the comment section one by one. And this is the pattern that we have watched play out over and over again with Claressa Shields. Claressa Shields cannot let a comment slide. Claressa Shields cannot ignore the peanut gallery. Claressa Shields has to respond. And every time Claressa Shields responds, the story grows. Every time Claressa Shields defends Papoose, the story grows. Every time Claressa Shields defends her right to walk on a red carpet with a man who is publicly hesitating to kiss her, the story grows. And the algorithm loves it. YouTube loves it. TikTok loves it. Facebook loves it. Because outrage is fuel, and Claressa Shields is pouring gasoline on a fire that would have otherwise burned out on its own. Now let me take a moment to break down the hair situation, because the hair situation deserves its own paragraph. Claressa Shields showed up to the Ebony 100 with a full glam styling that people are calling one of the best looks of her career. The hair was laid. The makeup was executed at a professional level. The outfit was tailored. Claressa Shields walked into that room looking like a woman who understood exactly how big the moment was, and Claressa Shields prepared for it accordingly. Word on the street is that the Zeus Network Glam team was involved. Word on the street is that Claressa Shields has been leveling up her red carpet presence ever since the Zeus deal was announced. And the fact that Papoose Turner stood next to a woman who had clearly put in that level of effort and still could not muster the enthusiasm to lean into a public kiss is what has so many women in the comments section absolutely losing their minds. Because women in the comments section are saying, if I had spent that much time in a chair, and I had spent that much money on a stylist, and I had spent that much energy trying to look right for MY Man on a night this important, and MY Man dodged my kiss on a red carpet, we would not be together by the time we got to the car. Drop your verdict in the comments if you agree. Cut through the noise for a second and let me tell you what is really going on here. Because everybody wants to make this about the kiss, but the kiss is a symptom. Family, the kiss is not the disease. The disease is a fundamental mismatch in what Papoose Turner wants from this relationship and what Claressa Shields wants from this relationship. Claressa Shields wants a public relationship. Claressa Shields wants to be on the red carpet. Claressa Shields wants the magazine covers. Claressa Shields wants the New Year's Eve kiss on a countdown broadcast. Claressa Shields wants to be seen with her man. And that is not a character flaw. That is a completely reasonable thing for a professional woman at the top of her sport to want. But Papoose Turner is a man who spent 2 decades of his career in a very specific public image. And that public image was built around loyalty to Remy Ma. Papoose Turner became a meme because of how devoted he was to Remy Ma. Papoose Turner sold books, he sold shows, he sold his entire brand on the back of that marriage. And now Papoose Turner is being asked to publicly perform a new relationship while the old marriage is still technically legal, and Papoose Turner is bucking. That is what you are watching on that red carpet. You are watching a man who does not know how to be photographed with a new woman because his entire brand equity was built on being photographed with the old one. Here's where it flips for the third time. Because Papoose is not just uncomfortable. Papoose is angry. And that anger has been leaking out in ways that Claressa Shields' defenders have been very quick to explain away. There was the DJ Vlad interview where Papoose said things about Claressa Shields' career that had a lot of people raising their eyebrows. There was the gym incident where Papoose reportedly told Dre that he was not a real man for the way he was training Claressa Shields. There was the comedian who made a joke about Claressa Shields at a public event, and Papoose allegedly put hands on the comedian in response. And now there is the Ebony 100 backstage confrontation. Peep this detail. That is a pattern. That is not one bad night. That is not one moment of insecurity that anybody can have. That is a repeating, escalating, publicly documented pattern of behavior. And the pattern is telling a story that Claressa Shields' loudest defenders do not want to hear. But peep this detail on the other side of the ledger. Claressa Shields is not exactly a passive figure in this dynamic either. Claressa Shields knows what she is doing when she posts certain photos. Claressa Shields knows what she is doing when she talks about her relationship in interviews. Claressa Shields knows what she is doing when she goes on Instagram Live and starts naming trolls. There is a version of this story where Claressa Shields is a victim, and there is a version of this story where Claressa Shields is a co-author of the drama that keeps generating headlines about her name. Both of those versions are true at the same time. And that is what makes this saga so impossible to look away from. Because in most celebrity drama, there is a clear hero and a clear villain, and the audience can pick a side and settle in. But in this saga, Papoose has villain moments and hero moments, and Claressa Shields has hero moments and villain moments. And every single week the roles switch depending on which clip goes viral first. Now let me get back to the Ebony 100 red carpet, because there is a detail that most people are missing. And I want to make sure that you do not miss it, because this detail changes the entire read on that backstage confrontation. When Papoose pulled Claressa Shields aside and told the cameras to cut, the cameras did not fully cut. There was a boom mic that was still hot. There was a second-angle camera that was still rolling from a fixed position. And the people who have access to that raw footage are saying that the exchange between Papoose Turner and Claressa Shields was not just heated. The exchange was, in the words of one person who has reviewed the footage, one of the most brutal one-sided verbal beatdowns that has ever been captured of a celebrity couple in a semi-public setting. Papoose was talking. Claressa Shields was listening. Papoose was gesturing. Claressa Shields was frozen. And at one point, Papoose reportedly did the thing that internet historians are already comparing to a certain infamous moment from the David Ruffin era of The Temptations. Papoose put his arm around Claressa Shields in a way that could have looked, from certain angles, like a hug, but from the angles that count, it looked like a lock. And that is the frame that has the entire internet uncomfortable right now. Real talk, family. If you were a woman watching this, I want to know what you would do if you were Claressa Shields in that backstage hallway. Would you have swung? Would you have walked out? Would you have called an Uber and left the man standing there? Or would you have done what a lot of women in relationships have done, which is to swallow the moment, save face, walk back out onto that red carpet, smile for the remaining cameras, and process the whole thing later in the privacy of your own home? Because Claressa Shields chose the second option. Claressa Shields walked back out onto that carpet. Claressa Shields did the smile. Claressa Shields did the pose. And Claressa Shields did not fully break character until she got home and hopped on live. That is a choice. And that choice tells you something about where Claressa Shields is emotionally in this relationship, and that something is not comfortable to say out loud. Here's where it gets loud again. Because in the hours after the Ebony 100 red carpet, the internet did what the internet always does, which is that it started digging. And what the internet dug up, family, is a whole treasure trove of receipts that are complicating the Papoose Turner narrative. Old tweets resurfaced. Old interviews resurfaced. Old photos of Papoose with other women at industry events resurfaced. And in one particular clip that has been making the rounds on TikTok, Papoose can be seen at a completely different event kissing Claressa Shields on stage, in public, in front of a crowd, without hesitation. So the question that the internet is asking right now is, what changed? What happened between that moment and this moment that turned Papoose from a man who was proud to kiss his girlfriend in public into a man who acted like his girlfriend had a contagious disease? and the theories are flying. Some people are saying Papoose is trying to protect the divorce settlement. Some people are saying Papoose is trying to distance himself for a legal reason. Some people are saying Papoose has already moved on emotionally and is just waiting for the right moment to make it official. And some people are saying that this is exactly what a man looks like when he is being asked to publicly perform a relationship that he no longer wants to be in. Cut through the noise, because here is what I know for a fact. Papoose Turner has been publicly connected to Claressa Shields for over a year. Papoose Turner has publicly proposed, publicly kissed, publicly held hands, and publicly weighed in on Claressa Shields' career on multiple occasions. So the argument that Papoose is a private man who does not do public affection is not supported by the timeline. Papoose has done public affection with Claressa Shields. Papoose has done it enthusiastically. Papoose has done it repeatedly, which means that the Ebony 100 red carpet was not an example of Papoose being a private man. The Ebony 100 red carpet was an example of Papoose making a very specific, very deliberate, very public choice to withhold affection from Claressa Shields in a moment where she was clearly expecting it. And a withholding of affection in that context is not shyness, family. That is a message. That is a message being sent in the loudest possible way in the most public possible venue. Now, if you are still with me, if you have not scrolled off, if you have not opened a second tab, I want to reward your attention right now with the piece of the story that nobody else is talking about, because everybody in this space is focused on the red carpet, and everybody in this space is focused on the backstage confrontation, but nobody is focused on the after party. And the after party, family, is where the story got even more interesting. Because after the Ebony 100 wrapped, Claressa Shields did not go home with Papoose Turner. Claressa Shields went to the after party. And at that after party, Claressa Shields was photographed with several other celebrities, including boxing peers, industry executives, and at least one prominent member of the Zeus Network family. And in every single one of those photos, Claressa Shields is beaming. Claressa Shields is laughing. Claressa Shields is having the time of her life. Which raises a very uncomfortable question. Was the backstage confrontation actually as devastating for Claressa Shields as the internet is making it out to be? Or has Claressa Shields already emotionally checked out of this relationship and is just riding the timeline until the public catches up? Real talk. Family. That is the question that changes everything. Here's where it flips one more time. Because the same night, Papoose Turner posted a story on his Instagram that was, and I am being generous when I say this, petty. Papoose posted a photo of himself alone, with a caption that a lot of people interpreted as a subtle dig at Claressa Shields. The caption has since been deleted. But the internet is the internet. Screenshots exist. And the screenshots are being passed around in group chats like they are the Federalist Papers. Papoose then followed that story up with another story that referenced Remy Ma. And that is the story that has the divorce lawyers on both sides picking up their phones. Because if you are Papoose Turner and you are in the middle of a divorce proceeding and you are publicly connected to a new woman, the last thing your legal team wants you to do is post anything that references your soon-to-be ex-wife in any capacity. Papoose knows this. Papoose has been advised. And Papoose did it anyway. Which tells you that Papoose is in a mental space right now where the legal advice is not landing. Peep this detail. Remy Ma has not responded. Remy Ma has been almost completely silent throughout this entire saga. Remy Ma has not posted a subtweet. Remy Ma has not gone on a podcast. Remy Ma has not filed a public statement. Remy Ma is doing the one thing that every celebrity in the middle of a public breakup should do, which is that she is letting her ex do the talking for her. And every time Papoose Turner opens his mouth or posts a story, Remy Ma's silence gets louder. That is a masterclass in how to handle a public breakup. And that is a masterclass that Papoose Turner is failing in real time. Now let me pivot for a second and talk about the racial and cultural dimensions of this story, because they matter, and because they are being deliberately ignored by a lot of the mainstream coverage. Claressa Shields is a dark-skinned black woman from Flint, Michigan, who has spent her entire career fighting for respect in a sport that has historically been unkind to black female athletes. Claressa Shields has publicly talked about the colorism she has faced. Claressa Shields has publicly talked about the way she has been passed over for endorsement deals that went to lighter-skinned peers with a fraction of her accomplishments. And when a black woman with that history is publicly humiliated on a red carpet by a black man who is legally still married to another black woman, the cultural weight of that moment is not something you can just wave away. Real talk. Family, this is not just gossip. This is a mirror. And a lot of people are uncomfortable with what they are seeing in that mirror. Drop your verdict in the comments if you understand what I am saying. Cut through the noise on the sports side too, because Claressa Shields has a fight to promote. Claressa Shields is in training camp for what is being billed as one of the biggest bouts of her career. And every single day that the Papoose Turner drama dominates the headlines is a day that Claressa Shields' athletic accomplishments are being pushed off the front page. That is not accidental. The media loves a female athlete story only when the female athlete is either winning or drowning. And right now, Claressa Shields is being framed as drowning. Even though Claressa Shields is undefeated, even though Claressa Shields is the pound-for-pound #1, even though Claressa Shields has literally never lost a professional fight. The narrative machine does not care about Claressa Shields' record. The narrative machine cares about clicks. And Papoose Turner not kissing Claressa Shields on a red carpet is worth about 10,000 times more clicks than Claressa Shields winning another belt. Here's where it gets loud one more time. Because there is a school of thought inside the boxing community that this whole Papoose Turner situation is actually costing Claressa Shields fights. There are promoters who are quietly saying that the drama is making it harder to build clean promotional campaigns around Claressa Shields. There are broadcast executives who are saying that the drama is making it harder to sell Claressa Shields as a mainstream crossover star. And there are trainers, sparring partners, and camp members who are quietly saying that the drama is affecting Claressa Shields' focus in the gym. That last one is the one that Claressa Shields' team is denying the hardest. But denials in the fight game are cheap. Results are what matter. And the next time Claressa Shields steps into a ring, the entire world is going to be watching not just to see if she wins, but to see if the Papoose Turner drama has cost her a step. Real talk. Family, let me give you the honest read from somebody who has watched this saga unfold from the very first Shakur Stevenson fight card in 2024. Papoose Turner and Claressa Shields are two people who genuinely care about each other, who genuinely have chemistry, who genuinely could have built something meaningful together if they had done it in private, on their own timeline, without the pressure of an ongoing divorce, without the pressure of a global fan base, and without the pressure of a media ecosystem that is designed to profit off of their pain. But they did not do it in private. They did it in public. They did it fast. They did it before the paperwork was clean. And they did it in a media environment that is going to squeeze every single drop of drama out of them until there is nothing left to squeeze. That is the reality. That is what you are watching. And that is why the Ebony 100 red carpet is not the end of this story. That is why the Ebony 100 red carpet is only the middle. Because the ending is still being written. And the ending is going to hurt. Now let me close the loop on the backstage moment. Because I promised you at the top of this video that I was going to break down every single second, and I do not break promises. According to the reporting that has emerged in the last 24 hours, the backstage confrontation between Papoose Turner and Claressa Shields lasted approximately 4 minutes. 4 minutes. That is a long time. That is longer than most rounds in a professional boxing match. And in those 4 minutes, Papoose reportedly issued what one insider described as an ultimatum. The ultimatum? Papoose reportedly told Claressa Shields that if she wanted this relationship to continue, certain professional relationships in her life were going to have to change. And those professional relationships include, but are not limited to, her training staff, her media team, and at least one longtime friend who Papoose reportedly does not trust. That is not a normal boyfriend request, family. That is a controlling request. And a controlling request from a man who is not even legally divorced, yet is a red flag the size of a billboard on the side of a highway. Here's where it flips for the final time. Because Claressa Shields, according to those same sources, did not agree. Claressa Shields pushed back. Claressa Shields reportedly told Papoose Turner, in the calmest voice she could muster, that her training staff was not going anywhere, that her media team was not going anywhere, and that the friend Papoose does not trust was not going anywhere. And that pushback, according to the insider, is what turned the backstage moment from a spat into a full-blown crisis. Because Papoose Turner is a man who is not used to being told no. Papoose Turner is a man who spent 2 decades of his life being publicly deferred to by Remy Ma in interviews, in songs, in every corner of their brand. And now Papoose Turner is in a relationship with a woman who is at the top of her own sport, who has her own money, who has her own team, and who is not going to fold the way he might have expected her to fold. And that mismatch is at the root of every single conflict this couple has ever had. Peep this detail one last time, because it is the detail that ties the whole story together. Claressa Shields walked out of the Ebony 100 that night with her hair still perfect, her makeup still intact, her posture still upright, and her championship belt metaphorically still around her waist. Papoose Turner walked out of the Ebony 100 that night looking like a man who had just realized that the game he thought he was playing was not the game that was actually being played. And in the days since, the tone of Claressa Shields' Instagram lives has shifted. The tone of her interviews has shifted. The tone of her body language on training footage has shifted. Something has changed. And whether that change means this relationship is over, or whether that change means this relationship is entering a new phase, only the two people in the middle of it truly know. The rest of us are just watching the smoke and trying to guess where the fire is. Cut through the noise one more time, and let me give you the takeaway, because I know you did not come here to listen to me speculate for 11 minutes without giving you something you can actually walk away with. The takeaway is this: the Ebony 100 red carpet was not a random bad night. The Ebony 100 red carpet was the surface eruption of a fault line that has been building in this relationship since day one. That fault line is the fundamental mismatch between what Papoose Turner needs from a partner and what Claressa Shields is willing to give. Papoose needs a partner who will center him. Claressa Shields is a woman who is at the center of her own universe, and she is not moving. Something is going to give. And whichever way it gives, the internet is going to be right there watching, screenshotting, quote tweeting, and turning every single frame into content. Real talk. Family, before I let you go, I need to know where you land on this. I want a full tier verdict from you in the comments. Tier 1. Is Papoose Turner the villain of this saga? Is he the victim, or is he simply a man who bit off more than he could chew? Tier 2. Is Claressa Shields the queen who deserves better? Is she the co-author of her own drama? Or is she a woman who is being punished by the culture for the crime of being too successful too fast? And Tier 3. The wildcard question. Do you predict that Papoose Turner and Claressa Shields will still be together 6 months from now? Or do you predict that one of them will be the subject of a very different kind of breaking news video by the time we get to the next round of major awards? Drop those verdicts in the comments. Drop your Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3, and let the algorithm see where the culture actually stands. And listen, if this breakdown hit for you, if I connected any dots you had not connected before, if I gave you a frame you had not considered, then you already know what to do. Slide down to that subscribe button, ring the bell, and stay locked in, because the follow-up video on this story is already coming, and the follow-up video is going to include the receipts on the after-party photos, the receipts on Papoose Turner's deleted Instagram stories, the receipts on the ultimatum, and the receipts on what Claressa Shields has been saying behind closed doors that has not yet leaked to the public. That video drops soon, and you do not want to miss it, because when it drops, family, the entire narrative on this saga is going to shift one more time. And the people who have been on the wrong side of the debate are going to have some very uncomfortable choices to make. This is Papoose Turner and Claressa Shields at the Ebony 100. This is the moment. This is the fault line. This is the culture-shifting red carpet that nobody saw coming and that nobody is going to be able to forget. Stay locked in, stay loud in the comments, and I will catch you in the next one.